So a student has asked me about how to figure out if a slope is positive or negative just by looking at it. And it's an important question, and I'm gonna talk about it a couple of different ways. So slope is the measure of or the ratio of rise to run. Okay, rise meaning up and down, run meaning left and right. Okay, so what is the slope of this graph? And I'm not actually going to calculate the actual slope, which is not difficult, but I'm going to talk about whether this slope is positive or negative. So I'm going to pick 2 points on the line. I'm going to pick this point right here and this point right here. Now, it doesn't matter which 2 points you pick, but I happen to pick two that are pretty easy to find. And I just want to talk about the rise. If I start at this point, we'll call this point 1, or let me call this point A to point B, all right? So the rise is here, is down 1, so down is negative, so this is a negative number. And then once I get down 1, I have to go to the right. So to the right on a number line is positive. So whether I go down first and then to the right next, I get a negative in my rise and a positive in my run. Well, a negative divided by a positive gives me a negative slope, right? Now I'm going to do the same 2 points, but I'm going to go from B to A. So my rise is up, so that's a positive rise. And once I get up here, I got to go to the left. Well, to the left on a number line is negative. So if I went from B up and then to the left, I'd get a rise that is, write this again, a rise and a run. I'd get a rise that is positive and a run, rise is positive, run is negative, meaning the slope is negative. So essentially, what this means, and you can do this between any 2 points. If you think about it, if I pick this point up here and I'll pick this point up here, right? These are far apart from each other. The rise here is up, so that's positive, and the run is to the left, which is negative. So a positive divided by a negative is a negative. If I start at this point and I go down, my rise is negative because I went down, and my run to the right is positive. I end up with a negative divided by positive is a negative. So no matter what, a line that goes like this, down to the right, has a negative slope. Okay. Now, that was the question the student asked about, but I'm going to give you a couple other examples just to kind of show you. Ooh, sorry, didn't mean to hit that. All right, so if I throw in a graph, I'm going to do a Cartesian graph. Okay, so let's get rid of the numbers. We don't need them. And I was going to go from this point here. Let me do this a little bit differently. Okay, oops. Sorry, folks. If I were to go from this point here, let's move that away. This point here to this point here, and I connect them with a line, right? That line is going up and to the right. Well, this is a positive slope, and the reason it's positive is because if I go, I'm call this point A and I call this point B, my rise is up, which is positive. My run is to the right, which is negative. Sorry, to the right is positive. So rise over run is Positive over a positive, positive divided by a positive gives me a positive answer. What if I were to start at this point B and go down to A, right? Well, my rise, I'd go down 1, so that's a negative rise. And then my run is to the left, that's a negative run. So a negative divided by a negative, right? I have rise and run. Negative divided by a negative gives me a positive. So any line that goes up and to the right has a positive slope. All right. While I'm here, I might as well show you the other special case examples, and they are as such. So let's go with a, sorry guys. Actually, I could have used that graph, but all right, once again, we don't need the numbers. What if I have a line that looks like this? From here to here, there's my line, okay? So let's talk about this in terms of rise over run, okay? So I'm going to call this point A, I'm going to call this point B. What's my rise to go from A to B? Well, I don't have to go up or down at all, so my rise is 0. What's my run? Well, if I go this way, it's 1, 2, 3, 4 to the right, so 0 over positive 4. If I go from B to A, my rise is still 0, but my run is 1, 2, 3, 4 to the left, so over negative 4. Well, 0 divided by 4 is 0. 0 divided by negative 4 is 0. So either way you look at it, a flat line that's horizontal like this has what's called a zero slope. Zero slope. It literally is the number 0, right? Sometimes you will hear mathematicians call this, well, let's just leave it at 0 slope. The slope here is equal to 0. All right. Now the last case, and if you haven't figured it out, it's going to be a graph that literally goes straight up and down. All right. Straight up and down. So we have, for example, this point here and this point there. Let me put that here actually. All right. So once again, if you think in terms of rise and run, what do we have here? Well, if I call this point A and this point B, to go from A to B, my rise is up 2, and my run, well, I'm not going left or right at all, so my run is 0. Okay. What if I went from B to A? My rise would be down 2, so that's negative 2. And then I don't have to go left or right at all, so my run is 0. Well, if you notice, 2 divided by 0 and negative 2 divided by 0 can't be done. If you recall from earlier in the year, dividing by 0, 2 divided by 0 is undefined. So when you see a line going straight up and down like this, that's called an undefined slope. So just to summarize, here's how you go. All right. If it goes down to the right, that's a negative. If it goes up to the right, that's a positive. If it goes horizontal, that's 0. And if it goes vertical, and actually let me draw that better. Let me draw this one better. I'm talking completely horizontal, that's 0. And if it goes completely vertical, that is undefined. And the reason is because 0 here is in the numerator, so anything 0 divided by anything is 0. Here 0 is in the denominator. So I like to also think of it as like imagine you're a little ant going left to right. If I'm starting here and I'm a little ant, whoa, I have a negative slope. I'm going downhill, right? And then here I'm going uphill, so it's positive. Here it's flat. it's 0, right? No slope. I'm just going on flat ground. And then this is the weird one. This is me falling off a cliff. Um, I know people would think that's a huge number, but it's called undefined because it's dividing by 0 as your run. All right, I hope that video helps.